Welcome back to another episode of Bulldog Blitz. I'm Liam Hickey, joined by Liam Cohen, and today's episode is a very special edition, as day one of March Madness concluded yesterday with some incredible storylines and upsets already. Day two is beginning right now, with FAU versus Northwestern tipping off momentarily. So Liam, let's start by recapping yesterday's slate of games. There were many winners and losers, but I think the biggest losers of all was us. After day one, only .00038% of brackets remained perfect. And also Drake, he had his hometown Kentucky team, got an offer there. They lost, as well as Drake University losing as well. So those are the big losers. Let's start with Michigan State versus Mississippi State.
Yeah, Michigan State topples Mississippi State by 18. I had them personally in my pick. I kind of felt like this could be a free game. It shouldn't really have been a 9 and 8 seed. Tom Izzo's 26th year of March Madness has kind of led them through this big game that they had first round.
Yeah, I kind of got to disagree with you there. I think Michigan State were overseeded at the 9 seed. Some people were questioning if they even gotten into the tournament. But they definitely show that they deserve to be there. Tom Izzo's experience is his 26th straight year. Is led by senior Tyson Walker, got 19 points. And then Mississippi State, it's just a very young, inexperienced team. Josh Hubbard, he's a freshman, leading the team with 15 points that game. And I think in Mississippi State's downfall, they couldn't get any boards. Defensive rebounds were a big issue for them. They shot 37% field goal range, 22.2% from the three-point line. Just overall, pretty shameful performance from a team that beat some really top teams earlier in the season, beat Tennessee in the conference tournament, as well as Auburn.
Yeah, massive game from them. But you want to talk about our really first close game that we had is Duquesne versus BYU. Personally, I also had Duquesne upsetting BYU. I kind of felt like BYU just couldn't really pull out. Okay.
Pause.
But, Day Grant stepped up big time for Duquesne, dropped 19, and Duquesne hasn't lost since February 22nd or 23rd.
Yeah, I actually did have BYU, so unfortunate for me. But some great headlines here. Keith Dambrot, coach for Duquesne. He actually coached LeBron in high school, and he said he's going to retire after this tournament. LeBron actually gave him some shoes before the game. And some notes that I had was just it was a very physical game the whole time. A lot of BYU players were bloodied. Dallin Hall took a shot to the face, leaving him with a bloody nose in the first half. Richie Saunders, another BYU player, took an elbow to the ribs, knocked the wind out of him, fell down to the floor, as well as Spencer Johnson. He lost a shoe on defense early in the game. That led to an easy dunk in that play. And then it kind of reached a boiling point when Duke's Fousseyni Drame and BYU's Noah Waterman wrestled on the floor for a loose rebound, and that led to a little small scuffle there. And yeah, just tensions ran high in this tournament, and Duquesne came on top.
Yeah, let's move on to the next game. Obviously, this is a no-doubter. Creighton beats Akron 77-60. If you really picked Akron, I don't know what you thought was going to happen. I have Creighton going to my Final Four. They've been really strong the whole season, and they're proving to stay strong.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Creighton in this tournament. They're also in my Final Four. Some reasons why is they got just a star-studded starting lineup with Ryan Kalkbrenner. He's a two-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, as well as Trey Alexander, shifty guard, Stephen Ashworth, great shooter, transferred in from Utah State. And then they're led by Baylor Shireman, who is a third-team All-American this year. 4 out of 5 of those starters, all those players that I just mentioned, are averaging double-digit points per game, which is incredible. And they're also one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. I think what's going to lead to their downfall, if they do have one, would be their depth problems. They stick with that starting 5, and that's it. So if one of those guys goes down, could mean trouble for them.
Yeah, and let's kind of move on to these easier games again. Arizona and Illinois, they kind of were in really tight games in that first half. I was getting scared as an Illinois fan, but they really pulled away. Actually, Moorhead went up 9-0 to start the game. They could not miss a shot. And then it came down to really just Illinois outplaying at the rim.
Yeah, Marcus Domask, Terrence Shannon Jr., Coleman Hawkins, that's the big three for Illinois there. Marcus Domask went off that game, had a triple-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. They did pull away at the end versus Moorhead State. Got a little nervy there towards the end of that first half there. Same with Arizona Long Beach State. It's close to the beginning. Long Beach State threatened them. Veteran head coach Dan Monson. Crazy story around him, but I think many people know this already. He actually was fired before the tournament even started for their conference tournament and ended up winning 5 games in a row, and here they were. And they did lose by 20, though, in the end. Arizona pulled it away.
Yeah, and we'll just kind of go right past this. UNC breezes past Wagner, 90-62. It was not close at all.
Yeah.
Wagner actually losing record going into the tournament, and you have written down, you think this is the weakest 1 seed.
Yeah, I mean, based on their record, and that's why they're my favorite 1 seed.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're the weakest. Who they beat in the first 4? Who was that? It was I forget, but it was a team I'm sure they were not favored, and they beat the odds. It was Howard. So
Howard,
they beat Howard
them by 3, 71-68
in OT. And so to beat them and come in here, I mean, I was thinking never thought they would win for a second, but still, it was.
Yeah.
I appreciated their effort.
Yeah, we'll go to a kind of an upset here. Oregon over the Gamecocks, South Carolina. I had Oregon winning again.
Mm-hmm.
This was one of the upsets I picked, but I kind of just felt like Oregon was strong going into the tournament. I don't know, something about the Gamecocks just told me that they couldn't hold Oregon. Jermaine Cousineau with 40 points versus his former team.
Yeah, the reason I had Oregon over South Carolina was because Carolina, I mean, they just kind of couldn't beat big teams in the SEC this year. They lost to Auburn. They got killed by Auburn, actually. Tennessee as well. They were a top-ranked seed in top 25 most of the whole year, but they still couldn't beat those big teams, and so that's why I had Oregon, especially because, as well as N'Faly Dante had 23 points, and he was coming back from injury this game, and he before his injury had one of the highest field goal percentages in the country, shooting 70.2%, and that was the main reason why I had Oregon upsetting.
Yeah, we'll go to the next game. Probably the most exciting game of the tournament so far is Dayton's crazy last 7-minute comeback against Nevada. I had Nevada winning, and this made me so mad. But that second team All-American and Atlantic 10 Player of the Year, Darren Holmes, led the way, 18 points, 9 rebounds. He really cooked up at the end, and it really just pulled together Dayton to get this comeback started.
Yeah, I was watching this game with my father. I was extremely bored whole game. This is my dad's alma mater. I didn't think it was that entertaining of a game until the end there where Dayton came back. They were trailing 56-39 with 7 minutes 36 seconds left, but then they responded with 17 unanswered points. And then looking ahead, I think Dayton plays Arizona next on Saturday, and that'll be a great guard matchup to watch between Caleb Love and Deron Holmes.
Yeah, that should be a really fun matchup. Although I do think Arizona will take that. Dayton really needed to start stronger. Mm-hmm. I mean, they showed to have a good ending, but we'll just move on here to Texas. You said cruising past Colorado State. I was actually watching this game hoping Colorado State could pull something together. The shooting in that game was god-awful. I was watching it hoping someone would make a shot. Texas had recorded one single three-point that entire game, and Colorado recorded 3.
Wow.
No one could put a shot up when it mattered. But Texas kind of just cruised past in the paint. They were unstoppable.
Yeah, I actually did have Colorado State winning this one, and I attributed it to Colorado State just killing Virginia in that opening first 4 game. But I guess that's just because of how bad Virginia is, in my opinion. They need to fire Coach Tony Bennett. He did take them to a national championship around 2020, 2019, but still, I believe their way of playing basketball is old. They play too slow. Like our interview with head coach Homer Flossmoor, Jameer Dismuke said, it's now adapted to a fast pick-and-roll type style play basketball, and that's just outdated. So, but yeah, congrats to Texas.
Yeah, for sure. Iowa State, Tennessee, they just killed their 15-seed matchups, 82-65 and 83-49. I really don't think anyone had a 15-seed upset coming into this game.
Yeah, we love St. Peter's, but not happening.
Yeah, I mean, they had their Cinderella run. But let's talk about the fan-favorited Cinderella one was McNeese State. Gonzaga just blew them out of the water.
Yeah, this broke my heart. McNeese State, they had a head coach, Will Wade, who before coaching at McNeese State, coached at LSU, and he had a 108-54 record. And the reason why he was fired was because of a recruiting scandal. But he showed that he was still overly qualified, dominating the Southland Conference all year with McNeese State, going 31-3. And they were led by a veteran guard, Shahada Wells. And I was thinking they could pull off the upset here, and they did not.
Yeah, it kind of looked like Gonzaga just couldn't miss. 51.7 from the field goal, 47.6 from the three-point, while having 34 defensive rebounds. They really just dominated in the slots that it really mattered to dominate in, and it helped them pull away with a smooth 20.
Yeah, Nembhard is a name to watch for Gonzaga. They play a great game versus Kansas. That'll be the first time they've ever played against each other in March Madness. They play each other Saturday.
Yeah, that'd be a good game. But let's talk about the biggest game of last night. Ruined everyone's brackets. Oakland over Kentucky, 80-76.
Yeah, we love March Madness because it's unpredictable. But if there's one commonality, one certainty between every tournament is that each year there's a Cinderella team that no one picks, and on that team there's a player that captures the hearts of America, and that player was Jack Golke.
I was watching this game, and Jack Golke, you couldn't stop him. He shot any shot that he could, and it really worked out for him. Not once did he attempt a field goal, but he nailed 10 threes, had 2 free throws towards the end as he was fouled on a three-point attempt. Go figure. And missed one of them, nailed 2. They were the Horizon League champs, and they shocked the Wildcats.
Yeah, crazy story about Jack Golke. In the post-game conference, he said, "We're not a Cinderella team." Took that kind of personally. Also saying how, even though he doesn't think he's going to the NBA, they could definitely beat any NBA player, when the timing is right. And the timing was right last night. He had spent 5 years in D2 before transferring this year. So great story there. And then just switching to the other side there, Kentucky, abysmal performance. Reed Shepherd, who was the Wayne Tisdale Freshman of the Year, goes cold all game. The 1 3-pointer, and Rob Dillingham at 10 points only.
Yeah, I was watching Shepherd. I really expected a lot more. He wasn't shooting the ball. He was a little scared. I don't know if it was nerves, but he was a massive disappointment. And I just want to go back to Jack Golke here. There's a stat, his entire season, 8 field goals shot, entire season. He nailed 10 three-pointers this game. He's a guy you do not see enter inside the arc, and it's a crazy way to play, but I love how he plays.
Yeah, and as much as I want to continue rooting for him, I don't think he's going to see the same success versus NC State and other teams in the future. I mean, great performance, but this was somewhat of maybe a fluke game. 10 three-pointers is incredible, and I don't know if that can be consistent. I think the player to watch for Oakland will be Trey Townsend, who's their main player. He's averaging 16.9 points per game. He had 17 that game. And he actually grew up with the Oakland coach, so they know each other very well. Great chemistry there. And they play NC State next.
Yeah, Trey Townsend actually sent Kentucky home. He nailed the big-time 3 at the end. It was a 1-point game going into that 3, and he just drilled it. Corner 3. I think the pass was from Golke. Yeah, he actually went inside the paint. But he passed it out. Townsend drilled it. Amazing shot. Sent him home.
And shout out to Antonio Reeves on Kentucky, who was maybe the only player that was performing for him, had 27 points. And I think this really just brings into question Coach Calipari. I mean, this was his best offense he's had maybe in his entire tenure. And that's really saying something. And the fact that he couldn't even get past the first round. I mean, he should be treated like a legend at Kentucky. I don't know if they'll ever fire him, but same with Tom Izzo at Michigan State. But I think he might have to resign soon. I don't know.
Yeah, I was watching Reeves that entire game. The shots that kid can put up is abysmal. He was doing step-back threes from 5-7 feet behind the three-point line, and they were nothing but net. He's an incredible player, and I really feel like they should have come out with a win, but Oakland was just strong.
Yeah, and then we'll see what they can do against NC State, who won 80-67 versus Texas Tech. Another big game of last night, and it was really forward Ben Middlebrooks who took the stage. He came off the bench and scored a season-high 21 points. And then if you're wondering what DJ Burns did, as I'm sure everyone else wants to know, he had 16 as well, hyped for Ben Middlebrooks. And he's become a fan favorite with his Zach Randolph build, he calls it. They are the hottest team in the country now by far.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, DJ Burns dropped 16, like you said. But, I mean, I had them winning, and I do have them winning again. They are such a strong team. They deserve to go far if they could keep this pace up.
Yeah, absolutely. And then speaking of, teams that we thought could go far, and speaking of teams that people thought would go far in the tournament, you had Drake losing to Washington State, 66-61. I actually did pick Washington State here because of their zone defense, but crazy upset there to many people.
Yeah, Drake actually had the lead first half of the game, and then that zone defense really kind of shut them down, and it let Washington State. It was a minor comeback to say. I mean, it wasn't that big of a comeback at all, but they really just took over. And then at the end of the game, they took over when it mattered as well. I was laying in my bed watching this game, and I went to sleep mad.
So you had Drake, I'm assuming?
I had Drake, yeah. I actually had them losing the next round, but I just thought they could get past Washington State. They're usually a strong team in the tournament.
Yeah, they unfortunately lost in the first round last year to Miami, who eventually made a Final Four run. And they're led by player Tucker DeVries, who is the coach's son. He had 14 points this game. Many people thought he'd be one of the names to watch the tournament. Just did not turn out to be that way. And then let's go to Kansas-Sanford. Last game of the night. Kansas winning in a close one, 93-89, fending off a second-half comeback.
Yeah, one of the most controversial endings that I've really seen in recent history. Kansas had game-winning layup, and it actually ended up, it was free layup, fast break, one guy trailing, and all you had to do was put it in the basket. He gets blocked, but they call a shooting foul. Don't go into review for it. I don't believe Sanford had any timeouts to go into review. And they looked back at it, and it was all ball. And Sanford had the ball, had numbers, obviously, and kind of ruined their chances.
Yeah, guard Nicholas Timberlake completely flopping to the ground there. Really just sold that. Great slideshow for him. And then, all those players, for the starters for Kansas, averaged above double digits, so that's something. KJ Adams with 20, Hunter Dickinson with 19. So very close call. Was it Sanford led by a player, Achor, great center there. He had a monster drive and the dunk at the end there, but was not enough.
It was a great way to sell it. I don't agree with the call, but that'll take us into our Final Four matchups. I'll start with mine. I actually do have Auburn upsetting UConn in the Elite Eight. So my Final Four from that side will be Iowa State and Auburn. I will take Iowa State to win that game. And on my other side, I'll have Duke. And I actually had Colorado. Questionable move by me, but...
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. They have Florida in an opening matchup today. They do have KJ Simpson and Cody Williams. So
yeah.
Cody Williams will be a draft pick for sure, so that could happen. For me, I have UConn and North Carolina. Obvious picks there on the west and east side. And then on South and Midwest, I have Creighton playing Houston. And I have Creighton making a run. They'll beat Oregon. I have them beating Tennessee and then eventually Purdue. I think they can do it with their shooting power and ability to offensively rebound the ball with Kalkbrenner. And I think they'll represent the Big East, who only had 3 teams go to the tournament, which I think is crazy. But I do have Houston beating Creighton due to their just incredible defense, the best defense in the country. That's where the buck stops, I think, for Creighton. And then they'll play UConn in the final, where UConn will win it for the second time in a row.
Yeah, I actually didn't get to my finals matchup. I have Duke advancing to the finals against Iowa State, and I will take Iowa State. I actually confused myself when I said the Colorado pick, but no matter who won, Florida or Colorado, I had them beating Marquette. I don't think Marquette is a tournament-built team. They really never go far. And then I have NC State beating. I had them beating Kentucky, but now Oakland or whatever. And then I have Colorado beating them. Then they move on to Duke. Duke will eliminate them. They're a strong team, all over strong team. But Iowa State, coming off of a big win off of Purdue, and I think they'll just be the champions. I think they'll take the crown.
Yeah, and going back to what you said about Marquette earlier, I completely agree. I don't think Shaka Smart is a tournament coach. He showed in the past, but he'll probably beat Western Kentucky in the opening round, but I don't think they'll go far at all. But they do have some really talented players in Cam Jones, also Iguodaro, and Tyler Kolek, so we'll see. But I think those are some great picks.
I agree. We have some strong brackets. I'm in first place in my league. I'm feeling good. I think that wraps it up for us.
Yeah, so stay tuned for next week where we'll actually come out with the great Owen Murphy interview we had in preview of baseball season at RB. We had some great questions for him there. We talked about the draft process, his time in high school, his minor league stint with the Green Jackets, and where he is right now in spring training with the high A Rome Emperors. So watch out for that.
Yeah, that'll sign us off. Thank you guys for tuning in, and come back next week.